Well, hello, I'm Marco Garbrecht. I'm the Director of Recruitment and Employer Branding for Trusted Shops for almost 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I come from agency business, consulting, and so...
From the dark side.
Exactly. Changed to the light side 4 years ago. Exactly, yeah.
So what do Trusted Shops do? What's the business model?
Trusted Shops is basically a classical SaaS model in terms of review systems for the whole European market.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, we come from we call it seal market. We give certificates to online e-commerce shops who, basically get the trust seal in order to increase their conversion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically the model.
So you're like a recognised, like certification, I guess,
Exactly.
that e-commerce stores is genuine business.
Yeah.
Globally or just in Germany?
Europe-wide. Yeah, we focus on the European market.
Yeah.
That's for sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many people do you have in the business?
Here in the headquarters, we have around 400 people, and we do have another 100 in our Barcelona, Lille, Amsterdam, and Warsaw offices.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay. So where are you from?
I'm from Cologne.
All right.
I was born here 36 years ago, and moved to Asia. I was raised in Asia actually because I'm a classical expat child. And,
right.
Yeah, and moved back to Cologne almost 15 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So to someone who has never visited the city before, how would you describe life in Cologne?
Well, life is pretty comfy, actually. It's a very livable city, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But it's ugly as well. So
Yeah, we've heard that from lots of people.
yeah, I assume so. Yeah, because it's true.
Yeah, well, it got bombed the hell out of, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
And then
It did.
Then rebuilt, which is so recent, actually. If you think about it in terms of history, it's so recent that all of that happened. What, two generations ago?
That's true. That's true. The reason why Cologne was bombed so hard was we have the whole chemistry industry right in the suburbs of Cologne and in the north, and that's why Cologne was hit pretty hard back then. That's basically the reason.
So is that, I guess, like an attack on economy back
It was.
then? Yeah. All right. Do you think it's possible to live comfortably in Cologne without speaking fluent German?
More and more, yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you live in the middle of the city, then for sure. Not like Berlin, not so international, but it can be quite comfy, yeah.
Yeah.
If you live in the outer suburbs, might get a little uncomfy.
Yeah. I think anyone relocating should make an effort to learn the local language, but from day one, you're not totally handicapped.
That's true. That's true. Especially if you come to Germany, you're going to be handicapped because learning German is one of the most hardest thing you can imagine, I think.
Yeah. I tried it, and when I use it here, people just hear my English accent and then talk back to me in English. So
yeah, but that's more the reason because people in Germany tend to more and more like to communicate in English, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do believe so, yeah.
I thought I was just absolutely like murdering the language.
No,
and they're like, shut up.
No, it has become pretty cool to communicate in English. That's for
all
sure.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a head up there. So the business or the culture here, from my experience, the people in the city make it. Like
True.
The like openness, how easy it is to just talk and meet strangers.
True.
Is the thing that makes it stand out to anywhere I've lived.
That's true.
And I do a lot of my interviews over Kolsch, and lots of my contacts say, oh, let's go and meet and have a beer. Is there a beer business culture here, or am I just very lucky with who I know?
No, there is. I mean, Cologne is pretty famous. You will know that because you've been posting pictures from our breweries, from our actual breweries here, so in Cologne. So you will know that. But Yeah, definitely. You can do a lot of business in Germany with while having a beer.
Yeah.
And of course, in Cologne, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you will know about the huge rivalry because with Düsseldorf and Cologne, we have different beers.
Yeah.
Still to the fact that we are actually 30 kilometers from each other, and we have totally different beers, and so yeah, there's a huge rivalry going on, but it makes it quite comfortable as well. So
Yeah.
it's this thing is permanently, and it's a lot of fun as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make good business out of it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like it's a beer thing. It's a sports thing.
it is.
It doesn't really seem to bleed into business though. There's no. I've not heard of or
not
noticed
really.
any like
Not really.
business conflicts. So
Not really. Not
it's
really.
it's like a fun rivalry.
It is.
Not
It is.
not a
It is.
serious rivalry. So you've had probably quite a successful career as a recruiter, and you've worked. Is it Berlin? Oh no. Well, you could have probably gone to work for cities like Singapore, London, Munich, but you.
I
stayed
did
in-
actually.
Yeah, but you came back to Cologne.
Yes, I did.
Why?
Yeah, because actually I left Cologne when I was 6 years old,
Mhm.
and yeah, pretty much went through whole Asia. I was living in Jakarta, Singapore, Bangkok, and I was. Yeah, it sounds a bit strange, but I was trying to find home, and home was Cologne actually.
Okay.
And or at least that's what my parents told me, and so I had to check it out. And well, ever since then, I simply stayed because I found my wife here. I have 2 kids here.
Nice.
Who were actually born in Cologne, and yeah, I'm trying to give them some secured haven, and
Yeah.
something I didn't have because I was moving around, which
Mm.
was a cool thing, of course. But yeah, I like this home thing here.
Yeah, it's quite a catches people's hearts. I
Yeah.
think the culture of the city.
It does.
Is it like raising a family here? I get questions on kindergarten.
Yes.
Is it easy to get your kids into school, or is that a bit of
No.
a challenge?
It's, I think school policy and school politics here in Cologne is like the worst thing you can imagine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Why?
they messed it up like in the last 15 years, I'd say. So you have to be very persistent in terms of getting those kindergarten and school places
Right.
for your kids.
Is it
Very
because
hard to
there's
do that.
not enough availability of places,
Exactly,
or is there
exactly.
like criteria that you
No,
have to
no,
meet?
no, it's just the availability thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much you can do about that.
And well, you can do things about it, but it takes time, of course.
Yeah.
And it's a huge thing here in Cologne. Yeah.
Okay. Well, trusted shops being located here, have you ever found that to be a disadvantage of being a company that hires a lot of technology people and not being somewhere like London or Berlin?
No. It's more or less a positive advantage we have, because I do believe we don't have that rivalry thing. I mean, of course, we do have a rivalry in terms of tech talent and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the rivalries in Amsterdam, we have an office there, and I see that now a lot. Just like the same in Berlin or London, the rivalry is huge. You have the whole startup ecosystem, which we do have a good startup ecosystem, but it's more or less a good target for us.
Yeah.
Because we can get a lot of candidates out of that. Berlin is so crowded and so international, and so much war for talent going on there.
Yeah.
Cologne is a bit more cozy and a bit more familiar, and people tend to know each other, and you get a lot of referrals, and that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
That's a positive side. Yeah.
There's definitely a bigger sense of community
True.
in Cologne
True.
than in the bigger cities, which,
Definitely.
well, yeah, once you're in it, is fantastic.
Yeah.
So you probably have to sometimes hire from outside of Cologne, and
Yes.
probably even outside of Germany.
Yes.
And I have never called someone who said, "Oh yeah, Cologne. I was planning on relocating there." it's always, Germany, I was thinking of Berlin and Munich, so I have to persuade them.
Yeah.
You must have to do the same. So what do you tell people to persuade them to come and
Well,
work
definitely we do tell them it's one of the most livable cities in Germany. Because due to the facts that we actually mentioned, like we do have a lot of internationals here, more and more over the last years. We have a good tech ecosystem because that's basically the target group we're trying to reach internationally. And you have a few good reasons to come to Cologne. It's not outrageously high prices, just like Berlin or Munich or Hamburg. It's expensive, but it's not that expensive like in the other cities. And of course, you're in the central part of Europe. It's you can go to Amsterdam within 2 hours. You're in Brussels. You're in Paris with the Thalys within almost 4 hours actually. And that's really great. And you have a lot of other very interesting German cities. You have a lot of culture. If you go to the north, you're in Frankfurt in 1.5 hours. So you're very central. So that's actually a lot of good points you can come up with in order to get talent to Cologne.
Yeah, I think the kind of people that are willing to relocate their life are often inclined to travel and experience stuff as well. So it's a great base to go and experience Europe.
Exactly.
Which is a really big appeal to people who are not from Europe.
That's for sure.
How often, and you might not be able to say this, but just your gut feeling, how much of the people that join Trusted Shops are not even from Europe and are from completely different parts of the world?
We're getting there. It's not that many people, totally honest on that one, but we're getting there. So we're attracting a lot of people from India nowadays, of course. We're attracting a lot of people from Russia. But the majority of people the majority of foreigners is definitely still European.
Yeah. Well, they're so much easier to onboard.
First of all, it's easier to onboard, and basically we're trying to restrain our markets to Europe, and that's why we actually look for talent that's actually from Europe. So we have to have like the language skills, lots of Spanish, Portuguese, stuff like that, and that's why we're attracting a lot of people from there.
Yeah.
Brazil has actually come up with a new market that we have in Portugal. So Brazil talent is actually something we're approaching right now. Yeah.
We found that when we hire people from Brazil, they tend to fit into a European or German culture quite well.
Exactly.
Whereas when we hire people from rural areas of Eastern Europe, that is a bit more of a sizable transition for them to make. So although Brazil is miles away and you still have the blue card process, once you're through, they're actually good people to onboard.
Yeah.
And there's no problems with the culture.
We have a great developer who's now based working for us from Amsterdam. He's a Brazilian guy.
Yeah.
And there you see actually the change, because he started here in Cologne for almost 1.5 years. And then he and his wife actually decided we want to go to Amsterdam. Well, we have an office in Amsterdam, and that's why we stick with him. Yeah, and that's a pretty cool thing. Yeah,
good move.
He's totally Brazilian. That's for sure.
Probably a cool guy then.
He's a really cool guy. I love him. Yeah.
So we looked at, this is more of a community question for just Cologne, that we looked at where talent was coming from into Cologne and where Cologne was losing talent to.
Okay.
Berlin, there's a fairly even exchange. So yes, a lot of people do go to Berlin, but we gain a lot of people back, which is surprising.
And they tend to come back. That's one of the main things.
Lots of boomerangs.
I'm still into this huge. I would love to do that. This huge marketing campaign for all the Berlin guys on like, guys, come on, let's go back.
Come home.
Come home. Yeah. That's I would love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we see quite a few boomerangs, but then the thing I was surprised at from the data was that it's like 90% of the incoming talent that comes to Cologne is within Germany, and a very small portion is international. And I think perhaps that's not a good thing. I think there's missed opportunities.
True.
But not everyone agrees. What do you think? Do you think for the community it's better that they're keeping their kind of talent acquisition from inside of Germany?
No. I mean, I'm so international myself. I love this international approach, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But of course, the whole startup scene here in Cologne rapidly growing within the last years. And of course, companies growing a lot, like Trusted Shops, like HRS, like Revi, Digital, huge companies growing bigger and bigger. Well, they have to face this situation that they actually have to attract foreigners in order to fill their positions. So the reason why is pretty obvious. They need those talents. Why haven't they been open for that in the past? I can't really tell. It's we have this boom going on in Germany for almost 10, 15 years now. It's really crazy. And we have low unemployment rates ever since. And now we're getting to that particular point where we have to attract others.
Yeah.
This is history repeating in Germany, actually.
Okay.
And I find it a good thing, that's for sure.
Yeah. Do you have an international recruiting strategy? Like when a position comes in, you have a strategy and some like tactics and methods specifically to tap into international talent pools? Not
yet. No. Okay. We're setting that up right now, to be quite honest. Because we're actually with the whole different offices, international offices being set up right now, or being set up in the past. That's something. Of course, there is a strategy behind it. So we try to attract, first of all, people from here because that's the most easy onboarding process.
Yeah.
Then we try to attract people from countries where we actually have offices, of course. And right after that, of course, we pretty much tell the agencies we work with that they can actually go and look for talent internationally in places we don't look so far.
Yeah.
I mean, having a strategy for that actually means you would have to onboard more recruiters internally, and we're not there yet. We have 7 recruiters right now, setting up international recruiters in the places we are right now, but we don't have that groundbreaking strategy so far.
Yeah.
To actually attract international people.
I think tech companies are starting to feel the talent shortage, but even so, they are often reluctant to adopt or commit to hiring people internationally. It's like this idea, they know they should do it, and then when I suggest it to them, they're kind of, I can see them get uncomfortable about it.
Definitely, it's pure change within the last, I'd say, 2 to 3 years, because this war has become so intense for those talents. I mean, if we are talking to a Java developer, we know for sure that he is talking to the most 3 important rivalries we have for competing for tech talent.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Basically, that's not a good situation.
No.
Because you're spinning circles here.
Yeah.
And in terms, but still, it's very hard to attract those people. So I mean, we have a story for Cologne, and I love Cologne, of course. But it ain't easy compared to Berlin, compared to Munich, because it rings a bell. Berlin rings a bell for everyone.
Yeah.
Cologne doesn't, as you mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a process, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyone watching that has just seen 2 recruiters whose full-time job is to find people agree there is a talent shortage.
True.
I hope doesn't need any more convincing that they need to look at their employer branding and how they seduce people. There's weirdly, still some businesses that have this attitude that people are fortunate to work for them, that they're very lucky to be hired by their business, not that they are actually having to do some more seduction, and that the power is much more in the talent's hands than it is in theirs. And they are just so not used to it, they can't think of a way to seduce them. So without giving away Trusted Shop's greatest secrets, what are your employment brand offerings that are persuading people that they should come and work for you and not who you're competing with?
Well, first of all, I come from the dark side, so I'm a sales guy myself. So the people I hire in my recruiting team are salespeople, that's for sure. So they know how to sell. But it's not only about selling, it's about transferring a culture to our employees.
Yeah.
And part of this culture is definitely, well, first of all, a lot of diversity, an international approach. We have people from over 40 nations here in the Cologne headquarters, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the most important ones, this family thing that we have going on here.
Mm-hmm.
It all pays off under one thing, that's culture. And I think the biggest challenge for Trusted Shops still is maintaining that culture, because we're growing very rapidly. Within the last 4 years, I'd say we have 20 to 25% growth rates in terms of turnover and actually head count. So that's super growth, I think.
Yeah.
And based on that, it's very, very important to maintain that culture, and that's what we try to do here. With that comes a very high level of HR work we do here. A lot of HR people, actually. So people have someone to talk to, someone they can go to if they have any kind of problems, especially in a very international environment. Yeah, we have a good product. I mean, our product is based on trust, and based on that, we actually trust our people. Sounds a bit
Poetic?
True. But it's exactly like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we trust our people, and I think that pays off eventually.
How do you balance the priority of culture with the priority of high performance? Because, for example, in salespeople, the highest performers can often be the most dangerous to culture. How are you kind of balancing making sure that everyone is happy and comfortable, but also they're all firing and they're all performing?
I think one of the keys to that is that we have within the culture is a rule that team leads are not able to have more than 7 to 8 people in their direct reporting line.
Okay.
So having good team leads and investing in leadership is one of the keys, I think, to maintain culture. Because what happens in a lot of companies, and I've seen those companies during my time in consulting, they run and they grow, and they tend to forget to invest in their leadership teams. And I do believe leadership is so important to maintain that culture, and I think that's what Trusted Shops does till the very point right now, and that pays off in terms of culture, I'd say.
If you can get the balance right, that's...
Exactly. And having this low key, so to say, of direct reports gives you the ability to maintain high performance with your high performers and your core performers. And I think that pays off so far. Yeah.
Okay. Do you offer people a lot of remote working options?
Trying to.
Okay. That's one of the not shortcuts, but adding that benefit to your employment offering can really help start and stimulate conversations with people. But business owners are petrified of the productivity costs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're doing it enough to kind of conclude an answer, but have you experienced that more remote working is actually damaging the business or actually not?
No, because we don't have that much experience with remote work so far. And that's something we have to work on during the next years, actually.
Yeah.
Because attracting international talent actually comes along with a lot more remote work than we have so far.
Yeah.
That's something we have to invest to. And if you do it right, and if you invest in hardware and stuff, all the other stuff you need in order to have that remote work, then it shouldn't be a problem. It's just a matter of, investment and, of course, know-how on how to deal with remote work and remote people. That's for sure.
You need the resources and the tools.
Yep.
I think sometimes you need to really focus on the characters that you bring into that environment as well, because some people really work well remotely.
Of course.
And others absolutely
don't. Of course. People, they have to be the right people to actually do that.
Yeah.
But that's part of our onboarding process and part of the recruiting process as well, and to find out exactly that. What triggers people, what kind of people are they? That's what we try to find out within the recruiting process.
Have you found, as the business has kind of intensified the growth and more hiring has happened, that you have maybe slightly reduced the quality of people that you bring into the business to meet the hiring demands?
There might be a tendency. That's it's, but we try to maintain the level of very intense recruiting process that we implemented almost 5 years ago. And we still have the same, so to say, recruiting process.
Yeah.
But of course, in order to fulfill the demand of hirings we need to have, it's not that the quality is being reduced, but it's more or less that we have to invest more into onboarding the people, because we can't really afford to find talent that's actually ready for the job from the whole beginning, which it wasn't 5 years ago, because the demand wasn't that high. And we couldn't cope. We could cope. Now we can't, and we have to invest. And that's what we found out very fast, and we actually do that. Sales is a classical thing. We can't hire enough sales guys and sales people who are ready for the job already. So what we do is we have a longer onboarding, and we have adapted to that in terms of hiring coaches and full-time coaches. And so we invest into our people.
I think that would be quite settling for maybe some smaller companies to hear, who aren't quite yet at that growth stage, but are maybe conscious that to achieve their headcount, they're going to have to sacrifice the quality. But that's a good point, actually. You maybe just have to invest a bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you have the right characters, the right drivers, the right personalities, then it's just a longer onboarding process. That's a very good point.
A longer onboarding process, and of course you have to have a very good recruiting process. And for instance, we have people here who actually conduct practical days for each job profile that we actually have. And with those practical days, it comes along that people have to do individual tasks, which gives us the opportunity to have a feeling about where are they and what do we have to invest. And then it's a pretty easy thing to think about whether we're going to do the invest or not, and it's actually a good thing.
Yeah. Here's I guess not ethic question, but like a value question. Would you rather have a small team of really expensive experts or a bigger team of maybe mid-skilled people?
I think it will be more interesting to have the larger team with mid-skilled people and make them experts. I think that's
a good answer.
That's more adventurous, I'd say.
Yeah. I don't want to get especially political, but in Berlin there's a big thing about women in tech, gender gap. We looked at certain skills in Cologne. If you look at PHP programming, for example, in Cologne it's like 97% male. That was probably the most obvious difference, and then most of them are about 87% male. Is that possible to overcome, do you think, or is that just a fact of technology that more people in tech will be men?
I think it's being overcome in this very moment. For instance, the amount of female applicants for developer jobs is on a constant raise, I'd say. It's still too less people, or too less women, but it's on the rise, definitely, because people are investing in that. We have all the people coming from other areas of business, making their developments, or investing themselves into development. And of course, I think, it's very male dominant still, but I think it has become a rather normal thing for women to go into tech.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the fact almost 2 to 3 years ago, or maybe a bit more. But it's becoming very, very normal, I'd say. And I think we won't have that question in 10 years' time, I'd say.
Yeah. The pressure from enterprise on us agency recruiters is go and find more women. When there's not a talent pool there isn't a supply. There's no active choice to not introduce women into the jobs, and actually the pressure, I think, is the attitude is changing a bit more, that it has to be on education, so either schooling, university, or more available educational courses. But that is where the answer, we think, is. Berlin, there's loads of coding camps. Do you know about anything in Cologne that is like either a boot camp for programming?
Yeah, it's coming more and more. We have Frische Fische, I think, who's coming to Cologne from Hamburg. They're doing a lot in that space, but it's coming more and more. But it's like everything. Berlin starts up with something. Hamburg and Munich pretty much do the same a year later, and 2 or 3 years later, Cologne does exactly the same, and that's what happens every time.
Yeah,
and we're still a bit back in that sense. But I think there's a lot of investment and a lot of boot camps and a lot of coding boot camps going on here in Cologne as well.
Yeah. I see more of them. So I think that's quite a nice place to finish. But is there anything you would want to plug while we're on here?
No, not yet. No? Thanks.
No especially difficult vacancies that you want to...
Special difficult vacancies. I'm looking for Java developers all the time, so you might know that. We've been discussing that.
All right then. Well, that was pretty good, wasn't it? Thanks a lot for doing that, Marco. You've been a great guest.
Thank you.
And I think we'll leave it there.
Perfect.
Super.
All right. Thank you.